All right, when we get to 10K likes, we'll let up the first opposition. Welcome back, Kiki. No more Christmas talk.
Okay.
We're just going to talk about MAGA and shittiness about MAGA. MAGA equals fascism. Kiki, Kiara, that was not, those are trolls. You haven't been on TikTok as much recently, but there's a lot of trolls that are doing that. I was the one that muted and blocked them. It was like a random account.
Yeah, I scrolled away and came back for a second because I sent a video to Kiara, and I came back and it just said violation with like nothing else. I'm like, what the hell is that?
Kiara, no, I'm telling you, I promise you it wasn't. I promise you. I can't tell if Kiara's like trolling me that, like, does she really think it's real? Hi, Mutang.
Unfortunately, you just have to like scroll up and then you see that there's a name attached to it instead of it just being an actual violation.
The way that they space it is so that it it looks like all the comments go away and it's like traumatizing. But once you know, yeah, I don't get it. I don't get the point either. There's another one that they do that's like, oh, this live is going to end in 5 minutes if you don't end it, or some shit like that. All right, we are halfway to 10K likes. Keep tapping the screen.
It's fascist bots. It's all MAGA.
You would think that they would be bored by now. I do see Maddie is in requests. We'll let you up as soon as we hit 10K likes. I hope you're tapping the screen as well. And we're here because Jeff abandoned us. Jeff was supposed to be live right now, and they abandoned us. What is this, you ask? This is an outdoor power stake. Why do we need an outdoor power stake? For the Christmas lights. I love Kiara so much for thinking that was real.
She's very protective.
But it's funny though, because she texted me and it's like, I don't get like notifications. So I would have been my account would have been long gone. We got a power stake. All right, we're almost at 10K. There was someone else in the request, but Maddie was very patient.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. So,
Disagree with the background?
yeah, like me and my dog, we usually have like political discussions. She wants to change her gender.
Okay.
She's liberal, and
What does that have to do with the background?
I mean, she just has liberal logic. And I'm telling her, you can't do that. You can't change your gender. It doesn't work like that. No, it don't work like that. You're born a
Do
woman.
dogs have a social?
You're
Do
born a
dogs have
female
a
dog.
social gender structure?
You're born a female dog. You can't be a man dog.
I can't believe you waited that long on request just for like...
Oh, it was 2 minutes. It was well worth it. It was well worth it, Alina. Poor puppy, Stitch.
you
You
talk
can't
like
be
that?
that. You can't be a man dog, Stitch. You're okay, Stitch. You're gonna be okay.
Yeah,
You're gonna be
Jordan,
just
for
okay.
real.
You're gonna be a girl dog. And that's okay. She's a little disappointed.
That's a beautiful dog, by the way.
Thank you. She is a little disappointed because you guys told her she could be a male dog, even though she can't. She can't be a male dog. She can't be a female dog.
No one actually addressed anything about the dog.
It's
All I did was
okay.
ask, what does that have to do with the background? That's all.
Alina, stop.
What? Stop what? Asking you to refer to the background?
No,
We're here to
stop
have a
with the
conversation about the
judging.
background.
You're judging me. Stop. Quit judging me.
I'm judging you because you clearly don't know how to read.
Stitch, show Alina your face. You're not gonna be like that.
Oh,
She don't want to show you. She don't want to show you her face, Alina. You're scaring her.
I really don't care.
You're scaring my dog.
Okay.
All right, MAGA equals fascism. Yeah, I disagree.
Why is that?
What would you say? Ronald Reagan equals fascism? Would you say George Washington, Abraham Lincoln? Would they all equal fascism too? Because they were all patriotic, very
Were
patriotic.
they MAGA?
That's like saying Superman is fascist. Can't happen.
Exactly, dude. Whatever Grayford just said, exactly.
You can't even. Okay, then now I know you. Now I really know you can't read because you couldn't even read his username.
Gray
I
Gray
can recommend some
Fox.
videos
My
or
bad.
something. Maybe like an
Did
online
I
course.
mispronounce your name, Alina?
No.
Okay.
Maddie,
like
what's
that
your
name,
BAC?
Alina.
What's your
Cool name.
BAC right now?
BAC? BAC. I don't know what that is, to be honest.
I don't know what that is either. BAC?
My guess is like, I don't know. It's got to be at least like, I don't know,
BAC.
0.18.
Yeah, I was thinking 0.18, definitely.
Damn, that's good because like I don't even know what my fucking BAC is, so that must be a good score. That
Depends
must
on who
be
you
really
ask.
good. Hey Alina, what's your BAC? Is it like
Probably
0.01?
Probably zero.
Oh fuck.
Actually, I don't know. There might be, I don't know. It's been so long since I've taken physiology and stuff, so I don't know. Maybe there's like
Physiology.
maybe your body produces a certain amount just naturally. I gotta figure it out.
Hold up, BAC. All right, now I'm kind of interested. BAC. I know what my testosterone is.
No, I guess it could be 0%. So yeah, 0.
Yeah, mine's 0.
That's the one thing MAG is not lacking in is testosterone.
Ew.
Yes. Toxic masculinity.
You guys, this is why
Toxic masculinity in this bitch.
this is why I don't like to go live at night.
Yes.
The BAC levels are very high,
Yes, Alina. Yes.
and
Period.
it's like all the incels.
Period.
Incel? I'm not an incel.
Most incels say that they're
You
not.
kind of
I'm
look
an
incel with
by
your blue
choice.
hair.
I'm an incel by choice. Okay?
You look like a
So
4B
that can't
movement
really
type
be
of
an
girl.
incel, okay?
The BAC is really high, and the IQ is reading absolute 0.
Hey, you didn't really answer the point about Ronald Reagan, all these other great presidents who were
Because
total
you were asked to
authoritarian
clarify. You were asked to clarify a question
and totally
you couldn't answer
patriotic.
it.
So what makes Trump a
You were asked a
fascist?
clarifying question and you didn't answer it.
No. You're not going to ask a question from my question I asked you, dude. You're what the fuck?
No, I am, because this is my live.
Okay, so I mean,
I can ask you a
you're
clarifying
more
question
here
if I want
about
to.
arguing than actually having a real
No,
conversation.
I'm
Yeah,
asking.
you
We
are.
asked you a clarifying question so we could answer your question properly.
No, you're beating around the fucking
You
bush.
don't even remember the clarifying
Let's
question.
get straight
do
to
you?
the point.
Guys, what's the question exactly?
What was
I'd
the
like to know what we're
question?
talking about.
MAG is fascist, but it's not. Because
I personally
Donald
don't
Trump
think
is
it
like
is.
Superman, literally. And Superman will never be a fascist.
Superman is not a real person, friend. You know
Donald
that, right?
Trump is faster than a speeding bullet.
You know that Superman is not
explain
real.
I love the dedication, right?
You know that
I
Superman's
love your
not
attitude, man, but
Elon
we
Musk is
shouldn't- We shouldn't
Batman.
be idolizing anyone, any politicians, you know?
Elon Musk is Batman. Prove me wrong.
Yeah, Batman and Robin. Yeah.
Batman is not real.
Yeah.
as well.
Alina,
The
Why is
movie.
your hair
Has
blue?
anybody
You know
ever seen
you
Man
know
of
that
Steel,
Batman's not
Batman,
real.
Superman, and Justice League?
yo, hold up.
That's weird.
Let's
It's all
just say
about
this.
Trump, bro. I swear that those
Hold
movies
on.
are
I gotta
about
say this.
Trump.
Alina dyed her hair blue just for the election. Now, if you're
It's
telling me
teal.
that's not cult-like behavior, I don't
It's
know what
teal.
is.
I
It's
actually
teal.
like the color. I think I like that color.
It's
but
a teal green,
I mean, the
and
color
I
might be
dyed it
cool.
before the election.
All right.
I like
way
the color
before.
too,
Can
bro.
we
I like
agree
the
that
color blue also.
they're
But to dye
overly
your hair
dedicated
blue
Republicans
because you're
and Democrats
Democrat,
on both sides?
that's cult-like behavior.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Jude.
Do you think you would agree that there are people who are overly dedicated to both parties? You know, like there's
Not
some
in the
extreme
same way.
That's
Democrats.
one of them, bro. Of
I
course
don't
you would
see.
agree.
I don't see people getting tattoos of Kamala or Joe Biden. I don't see them having weddings all around.
People are dyeing
I've
their
never
hair
seen a Kamala
fucking
Kate.
blue.
How
You
do
know,
I-
People are dyeing their hair
put me
blue.
there.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Jude, because your
That's a
buddy
fair
over there.
point. You got me there. I'd say there are a lot of people who are in MAGA, or not like it's not an organization who like agree with MAGA, who would take it way too far. But I wouldn't say everyone who, wears a MAGA hat is a fascist and is in a cult.
It's a symbol of fascism.
No,
So-
dyeing your hair
hold on.
blue is a symbol of
How
fascism.
exactly is it fascism? Though, I just would like to know.
Do you know the 14 tenets of fascism?
No, tell me.
Okay, we
Cutting
can go,
your hair and dyeing it blue.
we can go through them one by one.
Calling everyone who doesn't believe it you schmatzy.
We shouldn't be demonizing people on either side. It doesn't get people to agree with you.
Well,
you know?
look at him.
Trump
She can't
supporters have
crack
been
a
oppressed for
smile.
the last 8 years, man. For real,
He's
like
pissed.
it's not fair. It should stop.
She's pissed. Grandpa lost.
Okay.
That's all we
Grandpa.
want, man. We just want to get
Grandpa?
along.
Running.
Great
The only
grandpa
grandpa,
lost. Yeah.
the only grandpa that ran
Yeah, Biden. Yeah, 82
was
years
Trump.
old.
Biden didn't run.
The dude who can't speak. The
Well,
dude
we
who
had
licks
two
ice cream
grandpas.
cones on
we
the
know
beach.
that Biden didn't run, right?
The dude who sticks his tongue out and licks ice cream cones.
Biden
and
actually
bites
did
little girls'
run.
feet.
He dropped out.
How do you eat an ice cream cone if you don't use your tongue? Are you serious?
You bite it.
You can bite into an ice cream cone.
Bite it like
That's
Biden.
weird.
It's not the right way to do it,
That's
but you
fucking
can.
weird.
So you deep throat your ice cream.
You as a man, you stick your tongue out and lick ice cream?
Listen, bro. Yeah.
Imagine
I'm not
thinking
biting
eating
into
ice cream. Imagine thinking
I
eating
don't.
ice cream is somehow making you part of the LGBTQ.
Listen,
Me
dude.
personally, I don't.
That's
We're
fucking
just talking
weird.
about
Hey,
grandpa.
we got our
on the
opinions.
beach.
You bite your ice cream, I lick it, bro. We good.
No, I mean that's fine. That's fine. But we're talking about grandpa doing it.
I want to know what MAGA does that's so bad.
All right, so we're gonna go through the 14 tenets of fascism.
We're America first.
So the first
That's what's
one
so
is
bad.
powerful and continuing nationalism.
Yep.
Fascist regimes tend to make constant use of patriotic mottos, slogans, symbols, songs, and
Yep.
other paraphernalia. Flags are seen everywhere, as are flag symbols on clothing and public displays.
Yes, sir.
So patriotic mottos like "Make America Great Again," "Lock Her Up,"
I love it.
"Joel Baby."
Wait.
Joel,"
You
et
said
cetera,
lock
et
her
cetera.
up?
The flags, the Trump hats, the Trump bumper stickers, the Trump
Obama had all
doormats,
that.
the Trump cereal,
What's
the Trump
patriotic
watches,
about
the
lock
Trump
her up?
speakers, and all that stuff.
What's
Obama had all of that. I'm
what's
not trying to
patriotic
interrupt, but
about lock her
Obama
up?
had all of that stuff. There
I
was
can't hear
bumper
you, Gray
stickers.
Fox, over your buddy over here. You guys are like all on the same side, and you guys are. talking
I'm
over
just
each
saying,
other.
like,
Did you guys get banned from Call of Duty? Is that why you're here?
I don't play Call of Duty.
So-
I hate that game.
You are kind of right. Extreme nationalism is a big part of fascism, but I don't think there's a problem with. I think being patriotic
Yeah, I don't
is
think there's a
a
problem
good thing,
either.
but people will
Looking
take
at
it
them
too
like
far.
that.
But
And, like-
patriotism and nationalism are not the same thing.
You're trying to
Yeah.
make it sound like
I'd say
what's so-
patriotism
what-
is
hold on,
way
what the
toned
fuck is so
down. It's a way
nationalistic
watered
about
down
saying
version
make
of
America
nationalism.
great?
Patriotism, it's loving your country.
really
Nationalism,
just wanna make
nationalism is
America
like
great.
worshiping your country. Like
That's all I want. I want America to be great.
Jude, would you agree that people in MAGA worship?
yeah, a lot
around
of
the
people.
Trump? Yeah.
No,
My
I do
argument
not.
is
I
that
worship
not
the ground that
everyone
Christ
in MAGA
Jesus walks
worships
on.
Trump, you
Donald
know?
Trump's
Is
just
MAGA
super
America
people
first?
God.
For him.
Is MAGA's main point to be America first?
Yeah, American first.
Yes, America first.
Yes.
That means you. That means me. That means everybody in this.
It is in the
Yeah.
name.
But does it
is-
mean
America's in the
everybody,
name.
or
He's
is it
America
just
first.
me?
A lot of people
Everybody.
do like
That's
to
American.
Yes, everyone.
You gotta be American though. You can't just
right?
not be American and want to eat cats and stuff.
You know, I can't have a conversation if you guys are all talking over each other.
My bad,
Alina,
man.
stop. Don't.
Okay, so are we in agreement on the first one?
Fuck no. What is nationalistic
My
about
problem-
saying put America first?
I don't think we should be
That is
generalizing.
that is the
kind
theme
thing.
of nationalism,
When you
where you
gener-
think
when you-
"Make America Great Again" comes
No.
after like Germany, which was "Make Germany Great Again."
Really? So Germany had a slogan, make Germany great again, huh?
Yes.
Germany first, yeah.
Germany first.
Ronald
Right.
Reagan said it
So
as
my-
well. I
my
mean,
whole
I'm not
thing
the biggest Reagan
is-
fan.
Yeah, right.
We shouldn't be grouping everyone together in one group, right? There are a lot of smart people who voted for Trump, and there are a lot of smart people who voted for Kamala Harris. And it's same
I
with
would
all the
argue
dumb
there was
people.
also way
You
more
know?
dumb people that
There's
voted
pros
for
and
Trump.
cons to it all, you know?
Okay.
I
We're going to
mean,
go on to the next one, since we're in agreement with the first one.
No, I'm
Number
not.
2 is disdain for the recognition of human rights. Because of fear of enemies and the need for security, the people in fascist regimes are persuaded that human rights can be ignored, in certain cases because of the need. The people tend to look the other way or
What
even
human
approve
right
of
have you
torture,
lost?
summary executions, assassinations, long incarcerations of prisoners, etc. They're
okay.
literally building camps right
I
now
have one
for
question.
the undocumented people
All
that
right.
they want to deport.
Illegal
Trump
people.
is the one who almost got assassinated, all right?
He did not.
So, what do you mean
No, he did not. See, that's who we're talking to. We're talking to a person who lives in
He's
fantasy
faster
land.
than a speeding bullet.
He
I-
literally did not.
he certainly had a bullet
This
shot.
ain't worth our
of the-
time. No,
a
you know what?
piece of the podium
We're going back to this.
grazed his ear.
A man, yes,
And both-
they
both of the
shot the
people-
bullet
Faster
at
both
him.
of the
It was
people
an
were
assassination
That's why he's
attempt.
Superman.
All right.
Both of the people were
Everybody
Trump
needs
supporters.
to be quiet real quick because you have to censor your language for TikTok. It has
Yeah,
to be
you're right.
TikTok appropriate language.
You're right.
This conversation isn't worth it. We're going back to the dogs.
Right. Just there's
Get over it,
there's
man.
absolutely
We won.
we're just denying facts
Tell
here,
your
all right?
face.
There's video footage of a bullet being shot at him.
You cannot
There's
say
no
that
way
word.
that's staged. He
You
wouldn't.
cannot say those words, dude. Like, what don't you understand about what?
Sorry,
can you
which
say?
words? My
You
bad.
brought it up.
I didn't bring up that assassination attempt.
They fired a bullet at him. We have video footage of it.
Sorry, bro. She
Are you
won't let
dumb,
you
dude?
speak the truth, bro.
Are you fucking
If the
dumb?
sky is blue, she won't let you say it's blue, bro.
Oh,
If her hair is
I'm so
blue,
sorry,
you
Maddie.
can't say it.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, too.
I'm so sorry, Maddie.
It's turquoise.
Natasha paid to kick Maddie. Can't hear this circle jerk anymore. Maddie needs a baba and a nap. Bye, Stinky. Oh, just at the same. Now I just got a catch up from Jasmine to
To
boot.
kick me.
No, it was to also to boot Maddie. Jasmine, do you want to save it for something else? Jude, you can come back. You just can't say those words. I don't know why that's so difficult to understand. Save it. Okay, you guys help me keep track of like of the pending kicks. I got one saved for Kiki and one saved for Jasmine. I need I need a ledger. I need a kick ledger. All right, Gray Fox, you ready for the next one?
I guess so.
So number 3 is identification of enemies, scapegoats as a unifying cause. The people are rallied into a unifying patriotic frenzy over the need to eliminate a perceived common threat or foe: racial, ethnic, or religious minorities, liberals, communists, socialists, or terrorists, etc. Calling everyone Marxist, communist, vermin. The
You're calling
undocumented
us?
people.
Yeah,
You're
but
calling people fascists.
yeah, you're calling us fascists, though. I'm not saying that. I'm not going like back and forth. Like I'm not trying to say, "Ooh, I got you," but I'm just saying, like that
not
thing's
the same.
written to me.
That
That thing's written
That's
so
not the
finely
same.
tuned that
That's not
it
the
could
same.
cover a few
The
things.
difference is
But it's not the same.
that those tenets of fascism, so the name kind of sticks.
It's fucking disgusting. I just know that person doesn't wash their hands.
Hey, so I would just like to know what words specifically. You can spell them. I won't say.
The B word, like. Stuff.
Okay, you're good. You're good.
No but my
GUN
point
stuff,
that
right?
with that was that he and by the way, that's not me. It's the app that
No,
censors
you're
it
good.
and
I
takes
got
the live
you.
down. I could care less. The two attempts were both people on the right. So like, it's not like it was people on the left doing it. It was people on the right that tried to unalive him.
That's not necessarily fair, though. Those.
I don't know
I
how
know at least the
factual
guy
that is.
tried to do it first.
From what
he
I
was
heard,
a strategic voter. There's, I
Gray
know a lot
Fox,
of people that are.
Gray Fox, you weren't the one that brought this up. I'm having a conversation with Jude. Can you like relax? Or are you going to turn into the new Maddie? Because I'm sure Jasmine would love to use her kick.
All right. Well, anyways, my whole point here was for the assassination thing when you're talking about fascism. He's the one who's had assassination attempts, and that's not really something that we can realistically deny because there's
But it's
evidence
people
of
on his
things.
own side. That's the difference.
Okay.
It's
literally
not
how
the
every
government trying to do
assassination
it.
attempt
She's
ever
not
happened.
the one.
Bro,
He's not
honestly,
assassinating anyone.
there's nothing more irritating to me than when someone gets brought up into the live and they don't sit quietly like a good little boy and wait to be addressed and just jump in and be rude as fuck talking over other people. I already told Gray Fox I'm talking to Jude right now. If you cannot contain yourself, I'm over it. Like the Maddie thing, though, it was very overstimulating. I'm over it. What did you say, Jude?
I'm just saying. I don't even remember anymore. But
He said that Donald Trump didn't try to assassinate anybody.
yeah, he hasn't. There
That
haven't
would-
been
I would
any
argue that
assassination
he-
attempts on the other end. You know, if it really was fascist, don't you think?
But you said you
more
said you didn't
attempts-
know you said you didn't know the 14 tenets of fascism. So can
Well,
we
you
continue
were-
through them?
You were going through it, and I heard you talk about assassination attempts. So
Those are examples. People tend to look the way or even approve of torture, summary executions, assassinations, long incarceration of prisoners. My example was the separation policy, separating the children, putting them in cages. Like everyone looked at the Muslim ban. People overlooked that kind of stuff because so scary, immigrants, blah blah blah.
all right. Well, I don't think we're separating and putting children into cages. I think separation. I mean, whenever
believe
somebody
that
gets
Trump did that?
arrested here, you get separated
did
from
that.
your child. I mean, that's just
Trump
what
did
happens.
that. No,
Don't
that's not
put
how it's
children
supposed to
into cages.
be. And separated them. There's still children to this day that have not been reunited with their family because they did not keep track of them.
Obama did the same thing.
Well, I mean, you can't say that's directly his fault. That's a result of something he brought up. But that's, I mean, like, overall, all right.
But was it something that he proposed?
I don't think he actively was trying to separate children from their parents. You know.
Would you consider the president of the United States like the equivalent of the CEO of a company?
All right. No, actually, I wouldn't. I'd say so. The president of the United States, their number one job is to be a diplomat, right? Over everything else, right? Most people don't understand what the president does exactly, right? A lot of
What are
people,
the three branches of government?
the executive, the legislation, or the legislative, and the judicial.
Who's the head of the executive branch?
The president
Wouldn't that make him the chief executive?
of the executive branch, yeah. That doesn't mean he has
And
say over every
these
single
departments
thing in the
fall
country.
under him.
Yes, a lot of departments fall under him, just like a lot of departments are in the legislative and the judicial branch.
Kind of like the
Do you
CEO
know-
of a company.
All right, do you know who controls the money for us? Which branch?
Yes,
Which one?
the legislative branch.
The
right, you're
legislature,
right.
the House.
So a lot of people don't understand, right? The president doesn't have control over what we do with our money. That's Congress, right? My whole thing is that as the president, you're the chief diplomat, right? You're the chief executive. That's your job. Your whole thing. You gotta go to speak. You gotta go and speak to other countries and other leaders and stuff. Make peace. You know.
What Department of Homeland Security, ICE, FBI, CIA, all of those branches.
Yes.
What branch or all of those departments? What branch do they fall under?
The executive.
So they report directly to the president.
Well, I wouldn't say they report directly to the president. They're under
Their
him. But it's
departments
not like they
do.
talk to him.
Their
And, like,
departments do.
yes, he appoints people to their departments to the top
Because he's
leadership positions.
Because he's the CEO of the executive branch.
Yeah, but your question was, do I think he's the CEO of the country?
That wasn't my
Not,
question.
do I
that
think
was
he's the
Kiki's
CEO of the
question.
executive branch?
But
Would he be like the executive or the CEO of a company?
No. Their checks and balances are a thing, man. Right? The CEO of the country, or sorry, it's not like he has complete and total power and control over the country. Like he's running our business or whatever, right? The whole government, that's like
Jude, do you
thousands and
disagree
thousands of people.
with we're never going to get these tenets if we don't move forward. Do you
Yeah, yeah.
disagree with number 3, the identification of enemies, scapegoats as a unifying cause? Calling everyone on the left communist, Marxist when they're
That's a
clearly
tricky
not.
question, you know. I think that people, it's reasonable for people to like make that point that he's, you know, vilifying a lot of groups of people. But my whole thing is he's vilifying people who are actively breaking the law. You know, people who like we shouldn't be praising them.
Muslim
right?
people? How are Muslim people breaking the law?
All right, I'm not talking. All right,
The example I gave was
Elaborate,
racial,
elaborate.
ethnic, or religious minorities, liberals, communists, socialists, terrorists. How are trans people breaking laws?
I don't think trans people are breaking the laws.
So why are they
what
being
has he
demonized?
done that's anti-transgender?
The Republican Party has been pushing anti transgender what's
Yes,
the
yes,
girl's
but-
name?
no, I understand
Mace
that.
is
I
her last
understand.
name. She just put a law or whatever up in Congress. I forget what it was, but it was an anti-trans law.
I think
Nancy
I don't
Mace
think
and Mike
it's so black
Johnson.
and white. I think a lot of
Kiki was going to
public
tell you.
are
But
anti-trans people in sports and, you know, like trans children. I support transgender people completely. You know, I think if you're an adult and you're developed enough,
that's
and
not. If you
informed enough
support
to
trans
make
people
that
Did you
decision-
vote for Trump?
I didn't get to vote. I just turned 18 after the election. So
if you support trans people completely, then you would support gender affirming care for kids.
well, I don't think that's a good course of
Then you
action.
don't support them completely, and that's fine.
All right.
Just admit
You know
that.
what? You're right. I do not support them completely, but I do support transgender people.
Let's
right?
get through this list, and we can dive into the gender
Yeah.
affirming care if you want to
Yeah,
learn about it.
we'll dive into that later.
Okay.
Supremacy of the military is number 4. Even when there's widespread domestic problems, the military is given a disproportionate amount of government funding, and the domestic agenda is neglected. Soldiers and military service are glamorized,
Yes, that's a problem under every administration we have.
and I
think
would say
that's-
that as well. I
Yeah.
would say that as well. But
I don't think
Trump
that's-
did take it to a new level because he wanted to do really wanted to do military parades and shit that they do in North Korea.
That
and
is
whatnot.
fair, but I
That's
also
bananas.
saw a lot of Trump trying to get us out of the Middle East and, you know,
That's
get
not
us-
what this is, though.
What?
It's not saying no foreign policy or no foreign wars. This is just saying supremacy of the military. So even
Well,
when
listen,
we have
right.
domestic problems here, just the spending that we do, and just
I think that a lot of veterans and soldiers and stuff, we should give them the respect that they deserve, but we shouldn't be worshiping them, and we shouldn't be a militaristic country. You know, militarism is bad, right? But you know,
by the
there's
way,
nothing
Jeff, I
wrong
see you in here.
with respecting your soldiers and the people who fight for us in our country. You know.
How would you suggest that we support the military?
I'm sorry. What do you like? That's a weird question to ask. What do you mean?
So, we send military personnel overseas
Yeah.
to participate in wars and do all these things.
Yeah.
When they come back,
Yeah, they're screwed, you know?
how do we support the veterans when they come back?
I mean, a lot of veterans get left out to dry, and it's like that no matter what administration we're under, because, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
but the
just-
Republican
that's
Party
all.
has been actively trying to privatize the VA.
Which is the largest healthcare provider in the United States.
Sorry, what is the VA?
The Veterans Administration,
Okay, that makes sense. The VA is the largest
healthcare provider in the United States
for veterans or for everyone?
for everyone.
Really? Okay. So, what exactly is the problem with privatizing the VA? Right. I just want you to lay it out for me. I'm not saying there's no
Well,
problem.
In general, what tends to happen when we privatize stuff?
I don't know. What tell you people get excluded? You know.
People get
People
excluded,
get excluded.
and it becomes a thing for profit.
Yes, and it's all for profit right now. I mean, no matter what, the whole
VA
medical
currently
system is screwed. All right, hospitals got to make money.
The VA currently is not run that way.
That the VA is not for profit and it's specialized care for veterans.
Okay.
So a veteran with PTSD has
Yes.
different needs than somebody who hasn't been to war that
Oh, yes.
has PTSD.
Yes, everyone has their own needs.
There's specialized care when it comes to injuries from war.
So,
that long-term
When
care.
you say they're privatizing the VA, who are they excluding from that sort of thing? You know?
They're going to start making care that is on lower tier that is still necessary.
Yeah.
They're
It
going to
gives them the
skip over that.
opportunity to like
Say
put
yes
more
or no to
restrictions
care.
on things, more types of treatment, limiting that kind of thing.
Yeah. Like just limiting what kind of treatments they can get, making them
What
have to
they'll
pay
cover, etc.
for. I'm gonna
Because at
keep
the
it
end of the
above.
day, when you privatize stuff and it's for profit, like the stakeholders want the most profit possible, and they'll squeeze out as much as they can. Just like in our privatized healthcare system, there's all these hoops that we have to go through, like referrals and we can only get 30-day supplies of medicine and things like that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of veterans that if they go to the point where they have to do co-pays or anything like that, or they deny pre-existing conditions, that those issues are still needed to be addressed for veterans.
Well, I'll be completely honest with you guys on this. I'm not the most educated on this subject specifically, but I will try and debate you on it.
I appreciate you saying that you're not the most educated on that, because
So,
not many people actually say that.
I might just not know what I'm talking about in this topic, but like I understand like hospitals and stuff, they're privatized because they need to make money, right? Well, our government, we spend too much money on stupid stuff and we don't pay to like people have to pay for healthcare.
Well, it's because we didn't. Well, there's a lot of factors. So when Obama came into office, his biggest thing that he was running on was universal healthcare, or like a type of healthcare system, and he made a lot of compromises with the Republicans because they said that they would negotiate. And honestly, that was kind of his bad because they didn't really come to the table seriously. But with the ACA, it did get millions of people coverage. It allowed people to stay on their parents' insurance until they were 26, which was huge, especially at the time because we were going into a recession. It helped tons of people because of the pre-existing conditions thing. It created a lot of benefit. Now, when Trump was in office, he tried to repeal ACA and he couldn't, but he did remove the mandate, which caused the prices of it to skyrocket. But still, we have the pre-existing conditions covered for now, which is super important. A universal healthcare system would be the best option, but right now we're unfortunately
wonderful.
stuck in a privatized healthcare system.
I mean, I got a question. Just I know I love Bernie Sanders, right? I think he's great. His whole thing is like he wants universal health care, right?
Mm-hmm.
Medicare
for all, yeah.
Why has he lost every freaking primary he's been in a part of? Why is he never nominated by the DNC?
The biggest issue when it comes to the final candidates is that as popular as he is, people weren't going out and voting for him in the primaries. It comes down to that.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of like the schedule of the primaries. So like if you're super popular in 5 states that are like at the end of the primary, by then you've probably already run out of money and you've dropped out. So if you don't have that same strength of popularity in the beginning of the primaries, it's difficult.
Yeah,
But
I don't know.
both times he just didn't have enough votes.
I just feel like a lot of Democrats are fumbling when it comes to Bernie.
Oh yeah,
I'd love to see him become.
Democrats and Republicans, I think, do not vote in their primary as much as they should.
Yeah.
They don't take it
In my
seriously.
opinion, Bernie is more left than the DNC would like, and they want somebody that's more centrist.
Yeah, I really think that the DNC has been fumbling with these past few elections. Like they won the last one in 2020, but I don't think Biden was the right candidate for them to choose. You know, I mean,
I don't know. Like, I don't know who they could have put in the place that would have won against Trump. Like Biden was like the safest possible choice. Like old white dude that's been in the office. Like everyone loved him when he was with Obama. It was
Yeah.
like, and I think people were just like, can we just get some normalcy, please?
Yeah, it's just rough, dude. I don't know. I mean, and then was there? I don't know if this is true or not, right? I've heard a lot during this election that Kamala Harris wasn't elected in the primaries, right? I don't know how true that is. I've just believed it because that's what everyone's telling me.
Yeah.
But I see a real issue with that if that is true, you know?
Okay, so here's the thing. When it comes to primaries, there are no, like, it's not in the Constitution how
Yeah, like, we
primaries
don't
run.
need
so
them,
the DNC
but-
and the RNC are the ones that decide what their primary process is.
Yeah.
So when we voted for Biden in the primary, it was with the understanding that we were voting with Kamala. So for example,
Yeah.
if Biden won the primary, which he essentially did,
Yeah.
and passed away in June,
Yeah.
then she would be the person. It was also uncontested at the DNC, so someone could have contested and been like, no, like it should be this person or whatever.
Yeah.
So the and truly the delegates can give their votes to whoever the fuck they want. There's no rule on that. Like they can give it to someone that didn't win the vote. Yeah, and it's happened a few times in history. I believe Nixon was one of them.
Yeah, that's stupid. You know what's crazy? I've heard, I mean, of course I wasn't alive back then, right? But just from the information I know of Nixon, I've heard that just in terms of being a diplomat, wasn't he the first president to visit Moscow? Like, I think he was pretty great about de-escalating with Russia and stuff.
I do believe that he was the first one.
Watergate he really fumbled there. You know, that was the worst thing ever.
Was it Moscow or was it China?
I think it was Moscow. I think he had the first Russian leader come to D.C. and then he went to Moscow, which is great, you know.
I'm not entirely sure.
I don't know. There's a lot of hate on Nixon, and of course I'm not educated. I think Watergate is just a horrible thing and should never be condoned or supported. But we've gone real off topic here, haven't we?
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, you seem like you're willing to have a conversation, so I don't mind.
Yeah.
Do you want to keep going through the tenets of fascism? Or do you want to concede that Trump's a fascist or MAGA's fascist?
Well, I still don't think
Okay.
inherently MAGA's fascist. I think there's some people who are taking it way too far.
Okay.
And it's just we shouldn't be generalizing these sorts of things, because when we call a certain group fascist, you're just upsetting that group. They're gonna want to listen to you less, and you know, it's like no one likes to be called a fascist. You know.
I mean, no one likes to be called a racist either. But like,
Well, yeah.
if that's what it is, then that's what it is. Like,
If
Well,
that's,
yeah, but I mean,
especially if the
that's-
descriptions.
that's different, right? I mean, the thing
have you ever
is,
heard of have you ever heard the saying, "If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck,
yeah, you're right.
it's a duck"? But yeah, let's continue. Rampant sexism is the next one. The governments of fascist nations tend to be almost exclusively male-dominated. Under fascist regimes, traditional gender roles are made more rigid. Opposition to abortion is high, as is homophobia and anti-gay legislation and national policy.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. Trump is a big businessman. I'm sure he's probably a little sexist. You know, I won't even lie about that.
That doesn't have to do with him being a businessman whatsoever. But
Well, I
mean,
mean,
you can't deny this one.
businessmen, like, come
you
on.
can't deny this one. The opposition to abortion, the homophobia.
Actually, Trump is. That's a tricky topic, right? Because he is opposed to abortion. He said before that he doesn't think abortion, like, he thinks it's wrong, but he has also said, like, I've seen this with my own eyes. I've seen videos of it. He said that.
Would you say that he lies?
Oh yeah, of course he lies. Every politician lies. I mean,
Not to that level.
Do you think if there was a bill for a national abortion ban sent to Trump's desk that he would say, no, send it back?
I genuinely believe that Trump would veto it. I think Trump is I think he's all about states' rights, and that's not the best all the time.
But that's a problem, and that's how
Yeah,
we
I
ended up
know.
in the situation, because
I think that he's
the
completely.
Republicans under him that are MAGA
Yeah.
Republicans are the ones that have put in all of these like anti-abortion policies at the state level, or prevented us from voting on it. I gotta feed my cat before she like.
No, you're
freaks
good.
out,
I'll
so you
talk
guys
to the other
you guys
guy.
can talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I think he would veto it because he is big on states' rights. Whether states' rights on that sort of topic is a good thing or not, that's up to whatever you think, right? But I do think
Do you
he
think
would.
states' rights is a good thing?
I think it's a mix. You know, like states should like. This is a rough question. I think states. It's really important for them to have their rights and stuff because it's their state. You know, they know what's going on most.
So
Like,
if the majority of a state wanted a certain policy and they overwhelmingly like 60% of the population of a state said we want this policy, do you think that's a good thing for the states?
if most people in the state thinks that a law should be a law, unless it's something absolutely abhorrent, like I think it's fine. You know.
But you know that's what they were arguing for the Civil War, correct?
Well, yeah, I understand that, and that's exactly why I said it, unless it's absolutely abhorrent, like slavery.
So do you think
I mean, all
states'
the
rights for
Confederates, they're dirty
abortion is
traitors, you know?
abhorrent for the women that have to deal with it?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
So don't you think that an abortion ban for the women that need that health care is abhorrent when
Yeah.
it's going to the states?
Yeah, totally. I do think that, but I mean, I'll put my stance on abortion out there just to be clear. I think that I support abortion in most cases. I think that super late term is wrong, just because I mean you've had that opportunity.
What
know?
is an abortion?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Well, an abortion is when you're pregnant, right? And you go to a doctor, or somehow you manually terminate the pregnancy. It's not like a miscarriage, you know.
Mm-hmm. Does that mean that like the fetus has to die as well?
Yeah, I think
No.
so.
In like quote unquote late term abortions, they can do abortions such as an induction abortion that would result in a live fetus being born.
Yeah, I'm cool with that as long
Right.
my thing.
So, are you in favor of like abortion being paid for by the state?
No, I'm not in
Okay,
favor.
so then that's where the problem would be. In
I
you
think
saying,
insurance should cover abortion, but I think if
human
you're getting an
mouth.
abortion,
so this is where the problem would come in with you saying you don't think that like people should be getting late term abortions. Is that one of the biggest reasons that people end up getting them late beyond like health problems is that they had to make up the funds to be able to do it. Because even just getting an abortion in the first few weeks of pregnancy is like around $500. And then it just keeps getting more expensive the further you get along, and so it becomes keeps getting a bigger burden for people. And I would argue that a lot of people that are struggling to make up $500 for an abortion probably don't have good health insurance in the first place, which is why if you genuinely care about people getting abortions as early as possible, it should be covered by the state.
all right, that's a good point, and you're like, I won't say you're right on that. I think that it should be their responsibility to pay for their abortion. All right, unless it is life threatening and they are
So
going
then
to
you
die
don't
if
really
they
care
don't get
about
the
it being
abortion.
done. So you don't really care about it being done earlier then? Because if you
that's
meaningfully
not-
cared about it being done earlier,
Yes.
you would want people to have the facilities to be able to do that.
Well, if you
because
do
I
it
think
earlier,
something-
it's around $500, and
Yeah,
most
do you?
responsible
I
adults
think
have
something like
$500.
no,
If-
actually,
listen,
the
an
majority.
abortion-
No, actually, that's not true. Hold on.
The majority
There
of
was
Americans
actually,
can't afford a $400 emergency.
yeah, there was actually a study done just recently that found what Alina just said, that the majority
Yeah.
of Americans, if hit with an emergency where they had to dish out that much money, they wouldn't be able to afford it.
Well, if that is true, that's horrible, right? I don't know how true that is. I'm not going to say it's true or false, right?
Yeah, I can give you the name of the study if you want.
I'll just say, if you are pregnant and you know you don't want to have that kid, an abortion should be your top priority. You should be trying to get the abortion as soon as possible.
I think they are.
You got
but
pregnant.
Again, people
you
can't.
made the mistake you got to go pay for
People
the abortion.
can't get $500 out of their ass, like especially in this economy right now where most people are struggling and living paycheck to paycheck.
I mean,
But, like,
I
okay,
work,
so in
I
my
work a
state-
part-time job, dude. I could pull $500 out of my ass.
Yeah, but
Okay,
in,
that's
in my
awesome.
state, like the situation that we're in is like we have a 6-week ban. Most people
Same
don't find
here.
out they're pregnant.
I think that's horrible. I don't think
Yeah,
that's
most people.
long enough at
So
all.
then, the closest state to me, I believe, is Delaware.
Really?
So not only do you have to pick up the 500, you have to be able to take time off of work. You have to be able to travel and pay for the travel. If you have
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
kids already, childcare.
Yeah.
And not only is it the closest place to Alena, like Delaware, but because other states are banning it, that's creating a backlog in the states where they can't get access.
Also, Juder, you moved out.
Yeah, I live with my girlfriend.
Okay, somebody was just asking what bills you have since you just turned
Yeah, I
18.
saw. I'd like them to get up here and debate. I've seen them shit talking the whole time.
Okay.
But
Yeah, no, but I think that's like a very privileged take, just because like you would say that you would be
Yeah,
able
you're
to
right.
afford $500.
I'm more
that
well off
everybody
than
could.
most people. Well, not like I'm not bragging, but like I do have more advantages over most people. To be
And
in
again,
that
It's
And I can
important to
give
take
you-
that into consideration when you're making these like judgments. You know.
Yeah.
Right.
I just don't think, right? I think a lot of people need to take responsibility, right?
Yeah, people are trying to take responsibility by getting the abortion.
Yes.
But again,
but
people
we
can't.
we just can't have states paying anyone to just get an
I
abortion.
think I don't know why. Like I think getting an abortion, whether or not you pay for it, is taking responsibility. And we can see that in like countries that do have abortion paid for by the state, that they do have earlier rates of abortion. Like, so if that's what you care about, then you should be all for this. Like, I don't
Also,
know
like-
why you want like people to be punished so bad.
Also,
I don't
do you,
want
like
people
do you
to be
think
punished.
if it's a fiscal thing, then wouldn't it be better for the states to pay for the $500 abortion than to pay for welfare, Section 8, food stamps, Medicaid
Yeah, I think
when the
that
baby's
is.
born?
But you know, I'll give y'all. I'm not the most educated on abortion. I'm not a woman, right? I'm just saying how I feel.
But you're dating one, right? You should.
Of course.
I hope you're being careful.
Right.
Yeah.
So like the state is going to be like, if somebody is unable to scrounge up that money within the time frame that they're allowed to get an abortion, and then they end up having that child, the state's going to be paying for something,
Yeah.
one way or another.
I mean, right. Abortions are expensive. That's not up to us, right? I think they should be cheap. I just don't think that the state should be paying for abortions. You
I
know?
don't think you've articulated a good reason why. Because you think people
What do you
should be
mean?
like punished by having to dish out $500 when most
No.
people can't afford that right
I
now.
think that if people aren't practicing safe sex, right?
The majority
they
of people who get abortions due to failed contraceptive. So people are practicing safe sex.
Yes. All right. So they get the abortion, all right? But if you get pregnant, that is a you problem. That's not the state's issue. That's a
But
you
it is going to
problem
be the
to go
state's
solve.
issue either way. If they
I
can't
mean-
financially afford it, then it's going to be the state's issue either way.
Like,
It's just going to cost more.
well, yeah. I mean, it's just.
All right, you guys want the pigtails? I'll give you the pigtails.
I mean, I've said earlier, I do think that healthcare should be free, right? And
So then why would abortions not be part of that?
no, all right, you're not letting me finish. I think healthcare should be free, and if it was free, I think that the state should pay for abortions. But since it is not free for everybody, and people have to pay, they gotta pay for their treatment. The state shouldn't just be paying people, or shouldn't be paying for people's abortions right now. You know?
They should be paying for their children instead, or be paying for children that are then put into the foster care system, which is inevitably, again, going to be more than $500.
Well, yes, definitely. I mean,
So then, why would you like rather have a child that's going to cost the taxpayer like tens of thousands of dollars
I'm not really.
over a $500 abortion? This doesn't make sense.
I don't know. I mean, I'll give you. You're whooping me on this topic, right? I mean, I don't know. I'm not the best to talk about this. I'm not qualified on this, but I just think that it's your responsibility. You got to deal with it. It's your problem. We don't have free healthcare. That's the world we live in.
The child's
Be
going
an
to be your
exception.
problem, though. Like, in terms of, like, the taxpayer dollar, the child is going to be your problem regardless.
All right.
Your
Well,
girlfriend
a
nearby?
lot of other
Can we
freaking
talk to her?
a lot of other things are our problem. Sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, so I think, like,
can
where
we
we
talk
can...
to Mrs. Jude?
Yeah, I think where we can reduce the burden on the taxpayer, we should. Like, I don't know why, like, at one point you're fine with paying, like, tens of thousands of dollars for a child that was unwanted, but you're not okay with paying to get rid of a zygote that's unwanted. What is the distinction here?
I'm sorry. Hold on. Could you repeat the question?
So you're fine with the state having to dish out tens of thousands of dollars for a child that is unwanted, and so either they're going into foster care or they have to pay give the mother a bunch of money in Social Security.
Yeah.
But you're not fine with the state having to dish out only $500 for a zygote that is unwanted.
I mean, if the state could do that, that'd be great. But I don't think that the state should prioritize funding for abortions over any other sort of healthcare. You know, if we aren't paying for people to get surgeries, we shouldn't be paying for them to get abortions, you know? Why are you laughing? Am I wrong?
No, I do think universal healthcare is a good thing, and I live in a country with universal healthcare. But I think, like, again, I think when taking into account that if the state doesn't pay for the abortion, the state is going to end up paying more inevitably. It's not a good argument. Like, if you're really concerned about the taxpayer dollar going to something of somebody being irresponsible, I would rather them take care of something that was being irresponsible when it's a zygote than an unwanted child that's going to have to suffer with the trauma of being an unwanted child.
It's just the more fiscally responsible thing to do.
Right, and just, like, more humanitarian. Like,
Well,
I
I guess you're right about the money part of it. I think my bias, I'm probably biased about this. I personally just believe that a lot of people, if you're put in a situation that is just your problem, I think it's your job to solve it. You know, and you're probably right. I mean, I haven't thought too hard on my opinions about how we should be paying for abortions, just more about the morality and stuff about how late we should be doing abortions and, you know, just that kind of thing.
Listen, I've never had one, but the people that I've talked to that have,
Yeah.
it's not like the $500 is an unnecessary punishment, because I promise you, like, it's not an easy decision for anyone to make.
Oh, yeah.
It's punishment enough. And if they have to have the actual, if it's
Yeah,
past
no
the
one
point
wants
of
to
like
get
the
an
pill,
abortion.
it's a awful procedure to go through. Like, honestly, anything gynecological is traumatizing.
Also,
so.
I did say this before. I think that, you know, in cases of rape and like,
You gotta say grape.
oh, sorry. In cases of grape or whatever, I think the state should pay for that. You know, if they have.
how are we going
like,
to prove that?
Well, I was about to say, if it's gone to court, if it's proven, the state should just be forced to pay for it. I mean,
Do you
of
realize
course
how long...
it's hard to prove that.
But do you realize how long court cases take, especially for grape? Like, the states have, like,
Yeah, you're right.
years worth of backlog.
You're
Yeah,
right
I was
on
gonna
that.
say you're talking probably like 2 to 5 years before anything even like goes to trial.
Yeah.
Summer, I did see your comment. I went ahead and looked to see if there's any new little hats for hamsters, and I added some to the foster kitten wish list that's in my bio.
I think
One of them is like little chef hats, which would be super cute, and then there's like another little set that has like a turkey hat.
And also, on the topic of cats, I will add that I made the decision to get a second cat, so I can get a cat for my cat. And I am fundraising via my TikTok gifts, and so when I get $200 worth in my PayPal of money from TikTok, I will buy another cat.
And Jude,
Can we send you a cat, or can cats move to Canada or no?
You can send me Mao, actually,
Yeah.
with a hat.
What were you saying?
With the hat.
With hers.
sorry, Mal's the star of the show for a second.
Yep.
But the other thing is there are a lot of essays that do not get prosecuted. They
Yeah.
get dropped by prosecution.
I understand that. I mean, and that's horrible. You know, a lot of victims go without getting their justice and stuff, and that's just a product of our court systems. I mean, like the only people who will know for 100% or know 100% is the victim and the rapist or grapist. So sorry.
Someone said sneak him across the border, not him.
But
Matt would be an illegal.
Look at him.
that's just I just don't think that's a problem we can solve. Again, part of the sorry, when you said pregnancies are like a timely thing, I think there are solutions for that. I think if you're in the court case, I think the state could pay for the abortion, and if the guy ends up being innocent, they could make you pay afterwards, you know?
But you know what's interesting about that is like, if all it took was like an accusation, then in order to get an AB, people would just be accusing.
Yeah,
people
that'd
left
be
and right, which
exactly.
Is the problem. That's
you're
the problem.
right.
When you try to legislate these things, it doesn't work out. That's why it was so much better before Roe was overturned.
There are so many
it's just-
extra unintended consequences that come from that.
I mean, it just takes, like, clearly we couldn't find a solution to that right now, but you know, it's probably a lot of people are gonna have to think about that and try and solve it, and you know, it may never get solved, but I don't know. I mean, these are all tough questions. I wasn't really prepared for all this, but you're good.
Have you changed? Do you feel like your mind is opened up at all?
Well, I came into this with an open mind already. You got me to agree with you, sort of on the state paying for it part, but I mean, overall, I'm against most government spending. I think a lot of programs, we should be helping people out and stuff, but the main thing is the military. You know, we need to spend less money on that and put it more into our communities. But overall, I have a pretty negative bias towards like government spending whenever
I think we could radicalize you.
Nah. I like to stay more in the middle. Hear both sides out. But anyways.
What number were we on for the tenets of fascism?
Yeah, we can go on to that.
We're on number 5. So number 6 is controlled mass media. Sometimes media. Wait.
That is rampant sexism. Number 6.
We already did number 5.
Okay, you said it was number 5. Sorry.
I'd love to see everybody who's hating in the comments to get up here and join the conversation, because
hi, I'm here to hate. That's why I came up.
Okay, you're good. You're good.
You can jump in whenever. If you have the list of them, if you don't mind reading them, I'm tired.
I have it.
You good?
Number 6, controlled mass media. Are we like going one by one?
Actually, that's an interesting one. All right. I'd say that on the right, I'd say they're much more against controlling mass media than the left. I mean, I could be wrong.
Calling everyone else fake news.
Yeah, I think control doesn't have to be in like the sense of having like owning it in that sense. I think control
what he owns.
Yeah, I think control can be manifested in the sense of like controlling people's perceptions of the mass media.
Yes.
And I think Trump effectively did that by
Of course.
telling people that they can no longer trust the media, and all that does is fundamentally divert people to him. Because Trump, throughout his
he has essentially X now, right, and Truth Social, with a combined like 50 million users.
Nobody who's let's be honest, no one's using Truth Social anymore since Trump got back on X.
I mean, it still has over 2 million active users monthly.
That's probably just the MAGA cultists you're talking about, because there are people who are too extreme about it.
Still
That's
people.
also the headline. MAGA equals fascism.
I like, the thing is, MAGA's not an organization, you know, like, it's not like you join MAGA. It's something you can support and stuff. I don't think everyone in MAGA is a fascist or they support fascism. I mean, they're probably, if MAGA really is fascist, they're probably just too dumb to realize they're supporting it. I mean,
but that's still part of it.
Yeah, I mean,
the background doesn't say MAGA people are fascists. MAGA is fascism.
Yeah, but to be fair, I mean, I don't know 100% if MAGA's fascist. I don't think it is.
We're
I
working
don't
through
think
lists.
Trump is a fascist. I think he's a very radical dude, and I think he talks too much without thinking about what he's saying.
Yeah. Alina, would you mind if I bring up my my fascist understander friend?
Yeah, whatever you want.
Thank you.
I'm here vibing. I can't move.
But
too much.
I would like to say something about.
Then this guy that I'm gonna add is like the biggest fascism understander that I know. Jeff, I just wanna run through the things again. Censor your words, Chief.
Yeah.
Censor them.
Please.
I will do my best. Feel free to kick me off if I fail.
No. Are you wearing headphones?
I am, I don't know if I'm allowed to say what I'm doing, but I'm currently moving at a rate of speed.
You're on an adventure.
Yes, that.
Is your phone in a handheld thing that is not in your hand?
Correct.
Okay. Not a handheld, but something propping it up. Okay. I think that's fine, if that's fine with you guys. Okay. Okay. I think we're right on control of the mass media right now. If you have anything to talk about, Jeff, with how Trump has effectively done that.
I cannot get over this cat and how he loves his little hats.
So this one is a little bit different. This is like one of the differences between the current like American version of fascism and like how it's been done in the past. Because since we have such a strong history and like tradition of democracy here, we generally don't have people like him having direct control over media. I heard y'all talking about Truth Social. That is like an example of something that he has direct control over, but he has more indirect control where he has very close ties to the oligarchs who own the media, and then he has more or less controlled media through them. So it's more of an indirect route as opposed to the more direct route of previous fascistic,
Part of it does include, for like control mass media, it does include having media spokespeople and executives, or sympathetic media spokespeople and executives.
Exactly, yeah.
Do you want to move on to the next one, Jude?
What?
Think you're
Oh
not
no
really
no
here
no!
for
I was just waiting to see if anyone had anything to add. Well, the thing is, right? The media, or not like the media, but like traditional media, like news stations and stuff. They're all biased, right? Every single one of them. It doesn't matter who they're biased to, right? Fox is biased to the Republicans. What are is it CNN? What are the other ones that are more left leaning? I mean,
Yeah, CNN, MSNBC.
it's like
There's a difference between being biased and like actually constantly spreading propaganda. Like Fox News was caught knowingly lying for the benefit of the MAGA movement.
Yeah,
like, and they had to pay $750 million for it. So like bias is fine as long as it's upfront about the bias. Like I personally like biased media. Like I like to know things from like a socialist perspective. I like to know things from a conservative perspective. But whenever you are just straight up lying and just whenever everything you do is in service of a particular political party, not because you have like a similar ideology, but because you are trying to grow that political party and gain power, there's like a vast difference between those things.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, of course they'll lie for Trump to try and get him into office, and it goes the other way around. The other ones will lie for the Democrats to get them into office, and that's how
it really doesn't, though. Like we don't have the proof that we do with like Fox News and
all right.
No. There has never been a lawsuit in which any of these other companies have been charged $750 million for knowingly lying. There have been instances where there were either individuals that were lied or whatnot, but then the company then went ahead and like got rid of them. There are problems with mass media. Number one, the fact that like we have a profit motive for news. That's horrible. So yes, like I agree that there are problems. They gotta make money,
dude. They gotta make money somehow. Better stories is more money. I mean, but the thing is, right? Yeah. They're all in it for themselves. Okay. I mean, it's not. Even if you're not willingly lying or knowingly lying, you're still lying. That doesn't change the fact that they're lying. And I'm sure that they are knowingly lying.
Would never.
To say that, like leftist media isn't actively lying to get their candidate elected.
What is leftist media to you?
Leftist media is media that supports the Democrats and the left.
Wait, what is a leftist?
Somebody who has left-leaning ideals.
No, like, do you know the difference between like a liberal and a leftist?
No, actually, tell me.
Sure. So, like, a liberal would be somebody that would uphold capitalism, but through like more progressive ideologies. So, like, they're typically socially progressive in terms of being like pro-choice and whatnot. But they do believe in like the concept of capitalism, just with like extensive social safety nets in terms of the economy.
Yeah.
A liberal is someone who is anti-capitalist. So a liberal would be like a socialist or a communist,
Gotcha.
or like an
Just not
anarchist.
liberal.
Leftist, yeah.
So what you're talking about, liberal media,
Sorry,
not
liberal
leftist
media. No, you're good. But anyways, I mean, they're all biased, and to say that they're not is just ludicrous. I mean, everybody knows.
I'm not saying they're not biased. What I'm saying is that there are the rights news outlets in Fox and Newsmax and OAN. These are like actual propaganda arms. They are knowingly lying. They try to spin everything in a way that is just untrue. Where like CNN just isn't doing these things. Like you can go to like I don't like CNN, MSNBC, these places like that, right? Because again, profit. They're all about getting stories out as quick as they can. But you can generally, especially on their written sites, you can generally read it and find more or less facts coming from like like a liberal perspective. And even Fox News, their written articles are generally much better than their TV news media. But again, like they're not just knowingly lying purposely for the benefit of a particular political party in the way that again Fox News was caught doing. Like we know for a fact that they knew they were lying and they continued to push these lies forward, which have again eroded the public's faith in the electoral process. Something like 80% of I think it's like 60 to 80% of Republicans still believe that the 2020 election was stolen because of lies pushed by Fox News. There's no equivalent to that on the left.
I mean,
by the way, y'all, we're in sub-only chat because the likes are not moving. So if you guys want to be released from sub-only chat, then we need to get to 100K likes.
To be
tap
fair,
the screen, share the live.
To be fair to you, frick, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Sorry.
Could you just repeat what you said to me, real quick?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, so, like, again, Fox News was pushing a narrative that they knew to be false. We know from internal documents that they knew they were lying, yet they continuously pushed this narrative, particularly about the 2020 election being stolen, to the point where now something like 60 to 80% of Republicans still believe that the 2020 election was stolen, and they have eroded the faith in our institutions for no reason. So now we have to deal with all these problems and conspiracy theories that they push. And as far as I'm aware, there's no equivalent to that on any liberal or leftist media, especially with the reach that these places have. Like Fox News is the #1 news station in I don't know, it's probably the world, but it's definitely in the United States. So the idea that it is the mass media as well.
All right. Well, I'll just say this first. I don't think the election was stolen, right? I think Biden won fair and square. But a lot of people aren't very smart, and I understand why they think it was stolen. Because of the whole, we haven't seen that kind of voter turnout for Democrats in years. That's just people being stupid. And I mean, of course he'll try and claim the election was stolen or whatever. I mean, he hates to lose. He's petty. But I really see it on both ends. I mean, a lot of Democrats now think that this election was stolen. It's a person-to-person basis. You don't see it as much as last time. But
so I agree that there are a lot of I don't like it. There are a lot of people on the left or Democrats that are pushing a stolen narrative or stolen election narrative, and I don't like that. But again, if you look at statistics about the party and prevalency of these ideas, this idea that the election was stolen is the majority of Republicans believe this to their core. I don't know the stat off the top of my head, but I would bet anything that I have that the stat for Democrats is way, way, way lower. And it's because of things like, the mass media, places like Fox News, that are trusted for these people pushing these obviously fake narratives that they knew that were lying. So they're eroding the trust in these systems, and now we have people like Trump that are coming in and trying to make it even more difficult. They're removing people's rights to vote. They're making it more difficult to vote because they know that their policies don't work.
What would you say, specifically, how would you say they're removing people's right to vote?
So, for instance, in Houston, in the 2020 election, they had drive-through voting where it allowed people, particularly elderly people who could be driven, to go to voting stations, not get out of their car, especially because it was during COVID, and go vote. But because that enabled a lot of people in the Houston-Wade County area, which is predominantly black, It enabled a lot of voting. The Republicans then said, oh, no, we can't do this. This is voter fraud. So they removed that right, despite the fact that you have to have an ID on you to vote through your car, right?
Yeah, I was about to ask.
Also,
I was about to ask if the ID was a requirement.
Yeah, you have to have your ID because you're driving the car, right?
If that is true, then that's perfectly fine. I mean, a lot of the people probably claiming that just don't believe that they need an ID. And I mean, of course Trump will like control certain narratives on their side of the media, but I mean, I just personally, I think it goes both ways. Like I saw a clip of Kamala Harris during the election talking about like Twitter or X or whatever. And she was talking about how like, oh, they can say whatever they want. They can spread misinformation on that app. It needs to be regulated. I don't think that's true. I think people should be allowed to spread misinformation on social media. I mean,
do you think this is the same thing? Like a candidate for president saying, I think that we should have regulations on these. Like, I don't necessarily agree, but I don't necessarily disagree. Like saying, I think that we should be curbing the tide of disinformation on social media.
Yeah.
Do you really think that's equivalent to the biggest news station in the United States continuously pushing a narrative they knew to be false and like removing all of the trust that the average Republican or that the average citizen has in one of our most sacred institutions, like elections, like voting?
I think that's a bad thing overall. But what I was saying about the thing with her wanting to regulate social media and stuff and prevent misinformation from spreading, that's touchy subject matter to get into. You're at that point, I think if you're starting to regulate social media and try and combat the spread of misinformation by censoring people, I think you're infringing on the First Amendment right. You know, the most important one.
Well,
if we can't question our government, whether we're right or wrong, I mean, we're way more susceptible to ending up in a regime, you know?
I mean, I get where you're coming from, but like, first of all, I'm just not aware of Kamala Harris saying that like we need government regulation of these websites to stop this. I know that the right likes to push this narrative that Joe Biden was trying to censor people on Twitter through like the Twitter files and stuff. But if you actually go look at it, all he did was try to remove pictures of Hunter Biden's, genitalia. And you see that Donald Trump actually pushed Twitter to try and remove tweets from Chrissy Teigen that were mean to him. So, like, if anybody is actually trying to use government power to censor people, as far as we can tell, it has been the right. It has been Trump.
All right. Well, I don't know about the Joe Biden thing, but I will say I have seen with my own eyes, I've seen video footage of her talking about how we need to regulate Twitter. I think that's a bad thing, right?
I mean, depending on how it's enacted, like, I can see, like, concern behind it, but at the same time, like, we're seeing how these places are passing misinformation and disinformation and malinformation in ways that are beneficial only to a very small group of people, like billionaires, especially in a situation like, am I allowed to talk about the sickness from 2020?
I don't think she's here right now. No, you're not.
Okay, well, with that, right? Like, there were people pushing a lot of malinformation, misinformation, disinformation, which hurts people and it gets people, unalive. So I agree that like it's kind of touchy when it comes to the government regulating that stuff, but it's also it is also their obligation to try and do what's best for the public good. And in those cases, doing things like telling people you can't tell people to inject yourself with like bleach or whatever seems to be reasonable within the purview of government.
Yeah, I mean, crap, I lost my train of thought. We can't be telling people to inject themselves with bleach, or we can't be letting people do that. You're right. My whole thing is just whether it's good or bad, we have the right to lie and spread misinformation. And I think once we start treading on that right, it gets scary, and we should just stay away from that. You know, I mean, of course, we should be censoring illegal stuff off of Twitter, right? And that's what we do. I mean, Elon Musk has been great about Twitter. Elon Musk has made Twitter not good, right? He did a bad job with Twitter, but I will give him props for he got a lot of illegal and terrible shit off of Twitter. I mean, crap, my bad. I'm sorry.
I think you can cuss unless she has rules on that. I mean, not really. Like, you have people like Dom Luker, who he brought back to the website after Dom Luker posted CP. So, I mean, that's just one example, but like we see things like hate speech going up by like 200% when Elon Musk took over. Elon Musk likes to make a lot of claims, like he says that like he's removed bots from the site, but bots are rampant. And this is just a personal anecdote, but I started a new Twitter account for like some other stuff I'm doing like on the site, and I have. Oh yeah, so like Elon Musk just lies constantly, especially
Overall,
about
he's done a bad job with Twitter, I will say, but I'm just saying from my experience, like I used to see a lot of like gore and terrible, disgusting stuff on Twitter that I just don't see anymore. I just see a lot of bots now, you know?
I mean, yeah, I guess that all I can say is like that's number one. Like I don't know, I have less problems with like I don't know about that anyway. Well, like it annoys me whenever I go on Twitter because now I get ads for this hunting game that they show actual footage of like hunting on it.
Yeah,
Twitter's
I think
garbage.
too, like there may not be as much like gore, but what I am seeing, like it takes me, if I went looking for it, and I like just went on, I don't know, like scrolled for a few minutes, I guarantee you within 5 minutes I could find some anti-Semitism somewhere, like somebody literally
But
calling
so
for
that's
like.
the thing, right? And like that's a horrible, terrible thing, right? We shouldn't be saying we shouldn't be saying hate speech, but once we start like taking down hate speech, that gets scary for some
I
people.
don't think that's
you know?
true. Like
Like,
I live in a
that-
country. I live in a country where hate speech is illegal, and where it's like illegal, for example, to deny the Holocaust. And we're not going down some like deep, like slippery slope. It's just fine, actually.
And Elon Musk promotes transphobia as well.
Wow.
Like also, let's be clear that like there's a difference between like government infringing on free speech and then terms of service. So Elon Musk has removed a lot of terms of service and allows people to just say a bunch of nonsense on there now. Where they used to like to complain and say that they were getting their freedom of speech taken away, despite the fact that it was just terms of service.
And he got rid of some terms of service, but he also added things like it's like you'll get your tweet taken down now if you say cisgender on Twitter.
Post pictures of food.
Yeah.
Really? I haven't been on Twitter.
Elon Musk, he tweeted something about that. Who knows if he's actually
I'm not a big fan of
following
Elon Musk. I think a lot of people think Elon Musk is way smarter than he really is.
Can you give me like an example? Like, 'cause
I
I'm
have to back out
curious.
for a sec.
Well, a lot of people think that Elon Musk is doing great things by trying to send us to Mars, but sending us to Mars is just not a very good solution for, like climate change or whatever. We shouldn't be trying to make some barren wasteland of a planet livable. If we can do that, we could fix our planet,
Yeah, could you give me like any example of like a government that started to regulate like hate speech and how that turned like down a slippery slope, or like where you got that argument from?
Well, I don't want to go too deep in this because we've had Danielle on the panel. Danielle, sorry. And he hasn't said a word. Do you disagree with the background?
I just kind of want to know your definition of fascism, because I know it as like ultra nationalist and ultra authoritarian.
Yeah.
So I want to know, how does Trump kind of fit that?
Where did Jeff go?
Trump is very patriotic, and a lot of people, I think he takes it too far. A lot of people who support him take it too far. I don't think MAGA is fascist, but they do have a lot of like nationalistic sort of things going for them.
And there's also fascists that call Trump a populist. So people that are actual fascists call him a populist. So why are those people that are actual fascists wrong and you're right? And the actual people that are fascists.
I think fascists
there's whole groups
are
of fascists that literally say he's a populist.
Who? Give me a name.
I think fascists typically are populists. So I don't know how that's like a contradiction.
No, fascist and populist are two different.
Wait, no, but fascists typically use populist rhetoric. Can you tell me what populism is?
No, I'll be honest, I can't.
The guy that's talking about it, I'd love for you to tell me what populism is. Also, we can tell when you're out of the app Googling something.
I was trying to find the names for the first person that asked me. They asked me for names.
Can you tell me what a populist is?
Cool.
Okay.
All right, can you tell me what a populist is? I actually would like to know.
Yeah, I'd like him
The
to
definition.
at least try and articulate it, but I'm sure he's just going to bring back a Google definition now since he's Googling it.
Well, I was looking up what the first person asked me to. Now you're asking me to look up something
though,
else.
you can do that, but
What were you asking me? Sorry.
establish quickly that, can you tell me what populism is?
Yeah.
What is populism?
Yeah, populist is like politicians that appeal to more ordinary people.
No.
Is it populist or people that more appeal to
Yeah,
ordinary
populist-
people? So they're
no.
more broad. They're more against.
No. Like, we can see that, like, populists famously are very great for eroding democracy. Like, they're typically using very authoritarian rhetoric. No. Like, I don't think they're, like, appealing to the mass amount of people. Typically, populists actually tend to grab
because they go against established elite groups majority of the time.
But so they grab people that are typically like extremist and anti-institution. Not the majority of people are not extremist and anti-institution in the way that a populist would be. And so Jude, I'll just explain. So these are some things out of a political science textbook that are part of like what is called the populist playbook. So one is a leader or group that can save a country in need of saving, which justifies the consolidation of power within themselves. And I would say we see that within, say, like, fascists, because they will typically say, like, there's blank minority group that is causing your woes, and I have a solution for them.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I
then,
know about that.
right, next one is that they argue that the traditional political elite is dangerous and corrupt, and that pre-existing institutions are not doing their job and cannot handle things. I mean, Hitler argued that exactly for Weimar Germany, that they were ineffective at navigating the... I'm just mostly saying this also for the other guy who was claiming that populists and fascists are different things. Typically, a fascist is a populist.
Just to talk about the, like, getting a scapegoat on a certain group or whatever, blaming them for all your woes. The thing is, what I see with Trump more, it is a certain group of people he talks about a lot, is illegal immigrants, right? And I see how that makes... Not even just
illegal immigrants anymore, it's immigrants, period, at this point.
all right, you know, I could be wrong, but I trust that legal documented immigrants aren't going to be affected by this. But if they are,
that immigrants, period, not even undocumented immigrants, are poisoning the blood of the country. He also claimed...
Did he just say immigrants, or did he specify just
immigrants are poisoning the blood of the country?
He probably meant illegal immigrants.
Y'all try and sanitize what he's saying, and I don't think that's like a very great thing to do. Additionally, he... Not only that, but how many... Do you know, like, the highest amount at this point that he said that he wants to do deportations of?
Like a number or something? I know he wants mass deportations.
He's been cited saying that he wants to do up to 21 million deportations, and there are only 11 million undocumented migrants in the country.
Well,
so where do you think he's going to get?
If they're undocumented...
Wait. Can you... I don't think you heard what I just said.
We don't know the exact number of how many people
I don't think you heard what I just said, though. Like, he didn't say, like... He didn't say this with the context that there's probably more. He literally just specifically said 21 million immigrants.
So the thing about Trump, right? I'm not defending what he said there, but he's not a very eloquently spoken guy, right?
Well, it's this weird thing that you guys like always do, that you try and sanitize what he says. Like, you try and, like, boil it down to something that's, like, better.
Office, right?
Like, I don't know, like, why y'all... he will say the most extremist shit and, like, straight up say it, and y'all will be like, but I don't think he really meant that. Like, we'll take the man at his fucking word. Like, I don't know why...
Same thing on what AB is.
So, Trump is a very passionate dude, all right?
I said you do the same thing for AB.
That's not
what do I do for
necessarily...
AB? Hold on, Jude. Just what do I do for AB?
You said you try to take away or like desensitize it. to make it seem like it's not as bad as what he's saying. I'm like, you guys do the same thing for AB. You were calling it a zygote earlier, just to say, because you don't want to say that you're killing the baby, just to make yourself feel a little bit better inside. You just want to.
It's like early term.
You do the same thing.
It's
You do the
definitionally
same
a
thing.
zygote. It's definitionally a zygote. Hold on, wait, Daniel. This is the thing, though. I'm saying shit how it factually is. Like, zygotes are, in fact, zygotes. I'm not going to call them something else. They are a zygote. Whereas, like, I'm saying one thing and I mean that thing. Whereas Jude here, Trump is saying one thing and Jude is saying, but I think he meant insert blank sanitized thing here. Those are different.
Let me defend my position here a little bit. I do not think he genuinely wants to get rid of all immigrants, illegal or not, right? Because that is overall just a dumb, stupid idea, and he didn't try that when he was in office before.
I think he's a lot more emboldened at this point. And we can see that, like, his rhetoric has become significantly more bold than it was in previous, in the 2016 election, for example.
I'd like to say, I think Trump's washed, dude. I don't think he is the love of the game. Like,
I don't care how much you guys want to sanitize him. Like, he says extremist shit that is reminiscent of the man with the little fucking mustache.
all right, it is reminiscent of it, but he was in power. All right, he didn't. It's not like he made moves to go and put anyone in camps while in power. I mean, the thing is, he says stuff and he's just not thinking about it. I mean,
also, I don't think, like, I don't think these things happen immediately. Like, I think he is not even silently, I think he's blatantly eroding U.S. citizens' trust in democratic institutions, and that is purposeful. And I think once the U.S. gets, like, and there's a lot of political science literature on how when levels of polarization grow to such an extreme extent that individuals, when making a voting decision, are more likely to vote for an undemocratic candidate who reflects their views as opposed to a democratic candidate who doesn't, because they are unwilling to punish that candidate for being undemocratic if they do like them for everything else. And so I think Trump is becoming both more emboldened in his polarizing rhetoric because he acknowledges what that does, and then he's also getting the average citizen more comfortable with rhetoric that is consequential to the stability of democracy.
all right, I just have a question real quick. It's not like I'm trying to catch you on anything, but I'm just wondering, do you think it's a good thing for people to question, like, mass media and bigger institutions and stuff like that?
He doesn't question it. He straight up calls it fake news. That's not questioning it.
I'm talking about people, not him, but like people in general, like Americans. Do you think they should question?
Yes, critical thinking is good, but I think when you get from the point of critical thinking and I'm going to take things that I see with a grain of salt and then, like, maybe do some more research from other sources and find what is factual here versus just saying anything that's against me is fake news. And, like, would you agree that, like, pushing down dissent or, for example, using military against people who are in an oppositional ideology to you would be, like, a fascist thing to do?
Do you think that the Union...
Can you answer that, please?
Answer. Being fascist to the Confederates?
Can you answer that, please?
No. I think using the military... All right. I'll be honest. I don't know if I thought too hard about that question. I'm thinking about the Civil War right now, which is an example of that, right? Union...
Oh, sorry.
The Confederates were trying to leave the Union because we were trying to take their slaves.
Isn't that the guy that agrees with us?
No.
Oh, I thought that was
please
the
read the question.
That's my bad.
I think that if there is, like, some sort of dangerous rebellion and people are, like, just overall a bad thing, the military needs to be involved, I think they need to be involved. I mean...
Wait, but do you know, like, the context of what I'm talking about this in? Like, what Trump said? He said that he wants to use the military against the radical left.
I don't think he will use the military against the radical left.
Okay, again,
where did he say
thing
this?
y'all do is
insufferable,
bro.
Question. Why would you vote for a man if you don't believe what he says?
Right. Like it's so insufferable
So
that
I
Trump
would vote for
Trump
him.
again
Right,
will
right, right.
always, Trump
So
will
let me can I talk,
repeatedly
please?
say, but I think
You're
this
Let
not
is
me
really
gonna
speak.
like,
speak over
I'm gonna
comrade.
answer your
I know I
no,
question.
but
asked you a
I'm just adding
question,
to their
but
point. I'm adding to
yes.
their point.
Let
I'm not making a
comrade
different
speak
point.
and then you can answer.
I'm not
Okay.
making a different point than them. I'm adding to their point. So your response is not going to be really majorly affected by what I'm saying. But it's really fucking frustrating, and you've done it now multiple times, that when I bring up things that this man has said, y'all just go, I don't think he's gonna do that.
Yeah.
Like, why are you
Well,
not taking this motherfucker at his word? Like, it's so weird.
You're asking what I feel, how I feel about that.
Yes, so
I
now
think
you
that
can
Trump says
answer.
things he doesn't mean. All right. And
So
let me
then
answer your
why
question
vote
now.
for him? Why would
Your
you vote
question,
for
I'm
him
going to answer it
believing he's
right
gonna
now.
do anything
The
else that he
reason,
said he's
first
gonna do?
of all, I didn't vote for him, right? Because I couldn't vote at the
So
time.
why are you caping for this fool?
I couldn't vote at the time, right? But let me just say, I would have voted for him because Kamala Harris is just the worst candidate. I mean,
But can you
I don't think
like,
You
either
can't
of them are good.
substantiate that in
No.
any fucking way.
Right.
What
And
I
again, like,
mostly
why-
came up here for,
Can I
though,
tell
because
you
I don't
why
like to
I
stay
think
up
you're
on
the
the
worst
panel very
candidate,
long,
please?
so I'm just going to keep talking over you, is back in the day, Schnazis thought they were doing the right thing, too. People over that way thought that they were protecting themselves, and they thought that they were doing the right thing for themselves and their families and protecting themselves, too. So you want to say, oh, well, I don't think people that are for MAGA are
I
that
will
really
speak
that
on that
bad.
really
I'm
quick
not done
because
speaking. You're not going to talk over me. That's one thing
Nazis
that
did
you're
not
not going
think
to
they
do.
were doing the
That's
right
one
thing.
thing that you're not going to
Most
do
peop-
is speak over me. That's one thing you're not going to do because I'm tired of y'all. Like, I'm burnt out this week. I'm not doing it. There were plenty of Schnazis or people who participated. Go ahead and run away. That's what they like to do. Either way, you're probably
No, I
still
dropped him because I'm pretty
okay.
sure he didn't censor the word. But I'm just tired. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of like this was like a whole fucking waste of time.
It really is. Like, they really believed they were doing the right, like, some people that participated believed they were doing the right thing. Is what they believed in.
I can
And
confirm.
we're witnessing the same thing in the beginning stages, in some ways advanced stages. Like, this isn't a fucking joke.
Right, and my good friend Jeff here, Anti-Malarkey, has actually done a lot of research into Yahtzees, and I'm sure he can concur, but if you have more details, go ahead.
Oh yeah, they 100% thought they were doing the right thing. 100%. Like, yeah.
And this is going to directly affect me and my family, so if people could quit coming up here and be like, oh, well, I don't think he said that and, like, meant it, and I don't think he's actually gonna do that, and, like, cape for this fool and then be like, oh, well, I didn't vote for him. Why are you up here caping for this man?
And I don't like the argument that, like, he didn't do it in his first term as president, but he also had people institutionally advocating against his worst instincts. Now he's got his cabinet who he's picking people that are intentionally being put in place to destroy institutions that have been there for the longest time and that are yes people. They are not going to challenge what he's saying. They agree with him wholeheartedly and they are not going to stop him.
Not even that, but, like, do people not, like, develop new ideas? Do people not build upon a foundation? Do people not change or add on to things? Like, this is just, I mean, a lot of his cabinet picks, if you look at it and the things that they stand for, is America first, which is what he initially ran on.
Which also is like a fake term, like they just say America first because it justifies it. But also I heard y'all when I was listening and I couldn't be on here, y'all were talking about deportations and stuff. Yeah, he has Stephen Miller on his cabinet, who is a white schmationalist. I don't know what I'm allowed to say, but he has said that he wants to denaturalize, aka strip people of citizenship and deport entire families out of this country. So they're just defining anyone they don't want in as undocumented, as illegal, whether or not they actually are undocumented or illegal or not. So,
and he was appointed to head of policy.
Which will
He's actually
affect
evil.
indigenous people because we were not considered citizens and we have to do everything through foreign affairs off of our reservations. Little known fact. So that'll be great.
And also, when we were talking about sorry, I'm like going back on stuff that you were saying before, but talking about the whole poisoning the blood of the country comment, like that is almost directly taken from Schmittler. And also, I don't think it matters whether or not he's referring to undocumented people or not. He's talking about them having like predisposition to behavior based on genetics. He's saying that people from certain areas of the world are predisposed to crime because they are genetically inferior to other people, which is straight up Yahtzee stuff.
Yes, it's eugenics. It's all of the things. But like I'm not gonna bullshit. I'm not great at retaining history at all whatsoever. And I have people in my life that can absolutely vouch for that. I love to hear it repeatedly. But that's something that's definitely been pounded into my head. As somebody who's not white and doesn't have those privileges, I've got to hear about it repeatedly. I know about what my family has had to go through in just my life alone, my father's life and his father's life, my grandmother's life, and how all of this is going to affect us and how it's going to affect my son. Like, people that are white just don't give a shit enough because most of them, unless they're women, are gonna be okay no matter what the fuck happens. Pretty much.
Daniel, do you have like anything else about the fascism topic here?
Well, I just still want to know your guys' definition of it, because I just thought it was
I think Jeff
ultra-authoritarian
probably
and
has a really good one.
ultra-nationalist, right?
Jeff, do you have a definition you'd like to give? I feel like you'd be best primed for that one.
Yeah, so let me pull up the actual full one because I don't have it, because again, fascism is notoriously hard to define. The most succinct way to put it would be something like palingenetic ultranationalism. But to talk about like a more comprehensive definition, I like to use the definition from the book Anatomy of Fascism by Robert Paxton, who is probably the like premier scholar of fascism in the world. And his definition is, sorry, this is a little bit long-winded, but again, fascism is notoriously difficult to define. His definition is, fascism may be defined as a form of political behavior marked by obsessive preoccupation with community decline, humiliation, or victimhood, and by compensatory cults of unity, energy, and purity, in which a mass-based party of committed nationalist militants working in uneasy but effective collaboration with traditional elites, abandons democratic liberties and pursues with redemptive violence and without ethical or legal restraints goals of internal cleansing and external expansion. I would also say look at the essay Fascism, that's U-R Fascism by Umberto Eco, in which he lays out 14 tenets of fascism, which again, just conforming to one or two of these tenets does not necessarily make one a fascist. But we could go down all 14 of them, and I could give you examples of like the MAGA movement matching every single one of these tenets.
What was the name of that book again?
The Anatomy of Fascism by Robert Paxton.
All right, thank you.
There's also it's a pretty dense I mean, the book itself isn't very long, but it's a pretty dense and like dry read. A better one that's like easier to get through would be How Fascism Works by Jason Stanley. That one's much simpler to get through. It's easier to understand, and it's not as like dense and kind of boring. I'm not going to lie. Anatomy of Fascism can get kind of boring sometimes, but I mean, that's when you're studying things in an academic level, that's kind of how it has to be.
Yeah. Daniel, do you have any objections to that definition or anything to add?
No, I mean, he said his definition. I understand the definition. I just understand the definition as ultra-authoritarian and ultra-nationalist was kind of like the easiest way to break it down.
Than that, probably. But do you disagree with the background, or?
I mean, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, right? So
yeah, but I think the point is to have a conversation about your opinion.
That are fascists, like Steve Ross, like scholars of it, literally say he's a populist. So
yeah, again, like I don't know how you're claiming that fascism and populism are like mutually exclusive. Can you justify that?
Well, populist is more where they believe the authority or the government should be run by the people. Fascist thinks that it should be a single leader that has the political authority.
No, that is not what populism means. Jeff, do you have something to add to that, or do you want me to talk about that?
I'm not as well versed in populism, but no, they are not mutually exclusive. One can be a populist and not a fascist. I don't know if one can be a fascist and not a populist. I would need to know more about populism itself, but fascism and populism do tend to be tied together pretty closely. But there are such things as left-wing populists, and left-wing movements by definition are not fascist.
Yeah,
So
I think populism typically
authority
isn't
is run by the people, and fascist
populism is actually
authority is run by a single leader.
Populism is actually a very big indicator of authoritarianization, which is a term of democracy essentially eroding to the point of a country electing a democratic leader that then carries them over to authoritarianism. Leaders that are populist tend to use, in their populist rhetoric, very authoritarian rhetoric that, again, normalizes the decaying of democratic institutions. And I can give you sources for that, and I can also articulate my argument on that behalf if you'd like.
I'm sorry, but the last 5 seconds just cut out and we're mute on my end. I don't know if that's...
Sure, I'm just saying that, I can articulate an argument as to why populism is something that is inherently authoritarian, because, this is something that is largely agreed upon in political science.
The first gentleman said that they're not mutually exclusive, right?
Yeah, populism and fascism are not mutually exclusive, is what he said. Meaning that you can be both a populist and a fascist.
But you could also be a populist and not a fascist, correct?
Yeah, they don't have to go in with each other, but they typically are closely aligned. And again, I'll list some things right out of the populist playbook. So this is 1, leader or group alone can save a country in need of saving, which justifies the consolidation of power within that leader. And then traditional political elite or some other anti-patriotic target group is dangerous and corrupt, and the idea that pre-existing institutions such as major political parties are not doing their job and cannot handle things. The next is media and or experts cannot be trusted, so that's discrediting sources of information to shed doubt on the veracity of their claims. Populists present themselves as the voice of the people, who know the difference between right and wrong intuitively and do not need experts or media to inform their position. And then I'll just read straight from the textbook as well. All of these are antithetical to a functional democracy, which is threatened if it relies on a single individual or group to dictate policy as opposed to institutions, if the electoral contests are driven by personality rather than structured by political parties, and if voters lack access to a free media and accurate and relevant information for policy-making choices. So populism is something that is antithetical to democracy. It's not something that's we need to have the people lead. It is not that. It is typically one person appealing to voters that are frustrated, and that they will fix the problem. It's not the people are going to collectively fix the problem. It's the current institutions are failing. Fake news, I'm going to fix this problem if you vote me in.
Got it.
Or are you conceding now that fascism and populism are not mutually exclusive?
Yeah, they have similarities.
Before you were saying they were inherently different things, and typically they go together. They don't always have to go together, but they typically do.
Yeah, I never said they didn't go together. I said they're different definitions. Some people can be populist and fascist, and some can't.
They are different things. They're different things, but you saying somebody is that they're a populist, they're not a fascist, is not a point.
It can if they're
populism and
not a
fascism.
fascist.
Yes, that can happen, but you were referring to a person and saying that they were a populist and not a fascist, as if those things cannot exist beside one another.
Yeah, that was an assumption of what you thought I was saying. I never said
Sure.
they couldn't exist
MAGA
together.
Fascist?
I just said they were different things.
Is MAGA fascist?
If you want to believe, it's subjective, right?
Right? Yes, it is subjective, and that is why we are here having a conversation about our opposing beliefs. Do you have an opposing belief?
No, there's only one that had an opposing belief that I heard in the live. The rest I was kind of just listening.
Okay, so you're not an op.
No, I did have an opposing belief, but not for the title. It was about something else that was said earlier.
And what was that?
Daniel.
Oh, whoever said that if you don't support kids getting gender affirming care, then you don't support trans people. I thought that was a little radical.
You consider to be gender affirming care?
Well, gender affirming care starts with first you need a diagnosis in the majority of states in the U.S. of gender dysphoria. Then that allows you to eventually get puberty blockers, which you're on for about 2 to 3 years, and along with supplements to prevent osteoporosis in children. And then you are put on hormone therapy for another 2 to 3 years after that. And then after that, if you want gender reassignment surgery, that is the last step in the process of gender affirming care broadly.
What's your like opposition to that?
I don't think kids can consent to these things because they do not know what they're consenting to.
Do we give kids other like medical procedures or surgeries that they're not able to consent to?
And those are what, life-saving surgeries? Or an injury?
Yeah, you could consider gender gender affirming care to be a life-saving or life-improving. We see that suicidality decreases. Suicidality goes down a lot if you begin gender affirming care, especially like the earlier you begin it.